What's going on, housemates? Marcelo here. I hope you're doing well wherever you're watching this video from around the world. Don't forget to turn on notifications, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm recording this video on Tuesday night, the night before Arsenal host Dinamo Zagreb in the Champions League. And before we get into the game tomorrow, I do want to talk a little bit about what is shaping up to be another deeply disappointing transfer window for Arsenal. Of course, it is no secret to anyone how desperately we need a couple of signings if we want to salvage our season. Gabriel Jesus is out for the season. Bukayo Saka is set to miss at least another couple of months, realistically, maybe 3. Kai Havertz just isn't confident enough on a regular basis to be our main goal scorer. So it's really disheartening to see the lack of activity from Arsenal in the transfer window. And, just today, Nottingham Forest made a bid for Wissa from Brentford that was rejected. You look at even that and you're like, wow, Nottingham Forest, who is kind of in the title race and are right below us in the table, are trying to sign an attacker, which Arsenal desperately need. And it's just kind of incredible to see us still not making anything happen. There's been rumors of Sesko coming in on loan with an option or obligation to buy this month, but that's just noise as of right now. And really no other concrete links for a club that is so desperately in need of some new life in the attacking third. And, it is really concerning. And I just want to give a brief example of our most recent attacking signing in a January transfer window, and that was Leandro Trossard 2 years ago. When he came in, after we signed him in January, he had 1 goal and 10 assists for us in the league in the second half of the season. And, not all of those goals were necessary or assists were crucial, right? Match-winning assists or something. But still, he was providing goal contributions, some of which were off the bench in the second half of the season. And this is a period where we desperately need an attacker. And so you just look at that signing and you wonder why we aren't making something happen. I'm tired of talking so much about a project signing, a long-term signing. Yeah, those are important and we don't want to sign a player on big money that we're going to regret, obviously. But, when you're so short, it's hard to argue that we're not looking for that. So for something, right, to salvage our season. And I don't want to just go around in circles, but yeah. And then, of course, since Trossard has been in and out of form, he looks better off the bench than he does starting. He scored a really big goal for us against Aston Villa and Leicester in the beginning of the season. Then he had a pretty quiet few months, but then in the past week, in the span of 4 days, he had a match winner against Tottenham. And then he had 2 assists against Aston Villa that should have been enough to get us the win. But of course, we let that slip through our hands. So he's turned up again. And, for a player that we didn't sign for too much money, and in January, you just look at that and you wonder what is holding us back. There is an argument that, the Cronkies are hesitant now to sign players given how our summer transfer window went, right? Calafiori, Marino, Sterling haven't panned out to be the best of signings. Calafiori, obviously, long-term is an exciting signing, but there are big question marks over his fitness, question marks that were there when we first signed him. Marino, there were question marks over whether he was worth it. So our 2 main signings this past summer, people in the hierarchy were, kind of looking at it and questioning it and whether Arteta should go for them, but he did anyways. So maybe there is a hint of doubt or hesitancy from the ownership. I don't think that's the case necessarily, but I think it is a possibility for sure. So we only have 10 days left, and time is ticking, and we really just can't continue to waste any time if we want to do anything with our season. The league isn't entirely over. I think it is, almost entirely out of reach, especially with Saliba missing the next few games and maybe missing the City game. Saka, our 2 best players. So, yeah, it just feels like the same old Arsenal, like going back to our Wenger days, right? I hate to say it, but it really does give hints of that. So I just hope the club can wake up in time before it's too late. And I'm not too hopeful that it will happen. But anyways, going on to tomorrow's game, I don't have much to say about the game. It is a positive to remind us that we are in third place in the Champions League. And keep in mind, of course, that I'm speaking as if, before the results from tonight's game come in. So as of yesterday, we were third place in the Champions League league table with 4 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss. So we've had a strong campaign so far in the Champions League. We've had difficult games. The 2 games where we dropped points, of course, were against Atalanta, which is one of the toughest places to visit in Europe, and they're a great side. They won the Europa League, and they're fighting for Serie A. And Inter, which is also one of the most difficult places to visit in Europe. And so 2 really difficult games, and otherwise we've won all 4 of our games. So tomorrow we face Dinamo Zagreb. They're 24th in the standings. They have 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses, even across the board. It's a game that we have to win. We don't have to win because we look very likely to go through in the top 8. But obviously, it's at home. It's a pretty lowly side, no disrespect. But it's a game we have to win, frankly, especially if we want to keep this momentum up, right? So, in terms of the starting 11, it's a little hard to predict or even know exactly who we have available because Calafiori was back in full training. Ethan Nwaneri was back in full training. Ben White and Tomiyasu were both seen in training, but I'm not sure if they were in the latest training pictures. So hard to say who exactly is going to be available. But if I'm going to, go on a whim and choose who I think we're going to see, I'm going to go with David Raya in goal. Jurrien Timber at right back. Jakub Kivior at center back. I'm doubling down on it. I know he has mistakes in him, but this is a game where he should be comfortable enough to play. If we can't start him against Dinamo Zagreb at home, then why do we still have him at the club? Really, Now, obviously, if Tomiyasu and Ben White are both deemed back fit and available to play, I would probably play Ben White at center back, But again, I think it's a bit early to rush them back. So Kivior at center back alongside Gabriel. And Calafiori's back in training, but I'd still start Miles Lewis-Skelly ahead of him at left back. And then in midfield, I'm going with the same old Partey, Odegaard, and Rice in midfield. And then a front 3 of Gabriel Martinelli, Kai Havertz, and I'm going to go with Leandro Trossard again. I think there's an argument to start Sterling ahead of Martinelli or Trossard, and I think that this is a game where you could afford to do that. So I wouldn't argue against that, and we'll see what happens in the end. But yeah, so I'm going with the same exact starting 11 that I went with against Aston Villa. And we just can't see Thomas Partey at right back anymore. We just can't. Our record with him at right back is terrible. He's much more effective in midfield, and we look a lot better when he's in midfield. So that's what I really hope to see happen. And yeah, that's really it for me today. I'm keeping it rather brief, so apologies if you wanted a little bit more in depth. But yeah, I don't think there is too much to it, really. The starting 11 almost picks itself. It's going to change a little bit, of course, as these guys come back from injury. But I think it's still a little early to assume that they'll all be available to start tomorrow. So we'll see who Mikel Arteta goes with, but we have to be confident that we're going to get the 3 points tomorrow to keep us, comfortably going through to the round of 16 and not the playoff to reach the round of 16. Anyways, let me know what you think, and I look forward to speaking with you all after the game tomorrow, hopefully discussing another Arsenal win. So come on, you Gunners. Peace, everybody.